Okay, now we're in business. So, good morning. This is Simon with Trading Perform Coaching. It is Wednesday, 9/11. Excuse me, Wednesday, 9/11. And if you'll just take a moment to read this, and then we'll jump into it. Okay, so number one, obviously, we have started one timing to the upside on a 24-hour basis and on a daytime basis. What that means is we just can't trade below the prior session's low. So the obvious deal is, like, we haven't been able to get below Globex low one time. So, you just like to collect little deals that show you, hey, this is how things are changing, right? So the first thing I'd have marked off on my chart is Globex low. Can we trade below there? If we can't, overall, bigger picture, buyers are in control and they're going to keep stepping in until we get underneath. This is current Globex high, right? And that means we have been trading almost every single day out of unfair pricing at the bottom end of the overnight profile. So that's where you would look for the logical places below 18,760 is where you'd start looking for longs if you want to put location plus algo in at the same time. The auction gets completed up here, and there's three potential candidates. This, this, naked volume point of control. This high, there's kind of like a double high right there. So basically goes right there. And then the obvious one all the way back to the scene of the crime, but that's a long way away. You can mark it off, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I doubt we get there, but you never know. Those are your three targets. So it's Globex high, which is 18,910, followed by 18,967 to 18,972, followed by 1890 to 1903, and then followed by 19140, and then obviously we start at 19040, 100 points underneath that is where it starts unfair pricing, right? And then we know, right, so you can already write it down in your trade plan. If we trade below Globex low, that'll be a change in character going back to the 8th, where we've been unable to trade below Globex low and certainly below the prior session's low. So we're looking for those changes in that market. Next, so the other way to help you out so that you don't get steamrolled, right? We make most of our money in balance, right? So one of the things that will help you out so that you don't get steamrolled, right? If you're going to want to short, so when we're one timing to the upside, Brian was asking me about this yesterday. So if you're one timing to the upside, the first thing I want to do is I want to get underneath this, right? Like I'd want to get underneath that build. Why? Because if you look when we start one timing up, right? So look how these markets traded all the way up minus the 730. Okay, so if you subtract the 730, which was econ, if you look, see how we never can get past the high volume build up here, right? And it's the first thing you have to do is you actually have to get up underneath it, right? So what it's doing here is it's closing up in this volume and it's coming down to the low volume node and rejecting back up, right? That's what we're doing in each of these cases, getting through the volume build, getting to the low volume node and rejecting back up. And because we're so strong overnight, it's not even testing the weakest part of the profile there. It's just coming underneath, finding responsive buyers, and pushing from what would be mediocre low volume nodes at best. Okay, so this morning, right? This morning, I would want to go, first of all, I'm trading below 18,988. Like that would kind of be like a minimum for me, right? And then there's low volume nodes here and low volume nodes here that I would expect to get filled in. And then obviously you can see there's more underneath. The one that's more attractive to me is getting below this volume area low at 18,760, right? Back to the scene of the crime, the low of the scene of the crime from Econ. And you can see all the single prints with the best ones being down there at 18,730, right? So I can kind of relax, right? I can kind of relax and see whether the market can get underneath even 18,890 and have, what do I want? Evidence of rotation, evidence of speed. If it's going to grind straight up or this turns into a trend day up, I don't like participating in those. Now, if you do, there's trades that can be had, but you need to know what those look like on trend day up. Is it frustrating that we went straight down, stop, V-shape, straight back up, and it wasn't that great trading? Sure, it's frustrating, but that doesn't justify going on tilt or losing a bunch of money. We'll get our markets, right? So that's the last piece. So the first and obvious target when we open, assuming we're going to stay in this structure up here, will be this. Let me redraw this chart. So everyone says, whenever I talk to people, they're like, there's so many low volume nodes. It's not. Base it on logic, right? So see this right here? There's a low volume node right here. It's mediocre. It's okay. It's not great. The best one is this one right here or just below it, right? Just below you get this, plus this low volume node. Then the next one, right, if we don't get a response out of these two areas, plus maybe this right here. So that's kind of the structure that I would have in there. And notice that's not that far away. We're at 18,897. That would be my first support area, right? Then I would not want to trade in here. Why? This is acceptance. It has the highest volume, and there's but I can eliminate it because it's clearly not the lowest volumes in there. So I'm just going to eliminate that whole area. If I get signals in here, I don't care. That's 18,820 to 18,760. That's 60 points where I don't have to make a trading decision. If it's important for you to trade in here, by all means, do it, right? It's just not for me, okay? Because I know my higher win rates come outside of this area, and then this can turn to chop. And the problem is, I'd love to say, hey, I can tell when it's choppy, no problem. I'm not going to get smoked. But inevitably, I can't. I get too focused, too narrowed in on my location. Doesn't work. Next, my best area will be here and just below. And then this is a maybe. So I'm not even going to mark it off because so close, like these are clearly single prints, that you want to get that 18,736. And then you go back and look to the left. Is that Globex low? Yeah, that's at least European Globex low. So that's all I'm going to focus on, right? So obviously, I now have my areas of where I want to focus, right? I have my areas of where I want to focus, plus whatever develops as the market goes along. Okay, hold on one second. 18,705. Okay, so this would be the more important low for me, but I would say between here and 18,705, obviously you'd look for an opportunity. Okay, so then and then this is European low, and I would focus on that. So the first thing, as you see, is I've got to get below this structure. So I don't want to just start firing off the shorts. Why? Because when we gap up, if it's going to be open drive higher, everything above this is just going to get run over. And you can see from pre-market, outside of the little news response, we've been trending up, bar over bar over bar. If you remove this, the next thing I need to see to change character, right? I always want to see a change character is I got to trade below here, right? 18,820. I've got to trade below it because it was one timing to the upside from 6 a.m., right? So to change, you're looking for a change of character, so you know that it's at least the idea of coming out to play is safe, and the market is showing no characteristics of good shorting to the downside, right? Okay, so there you go. So now let's leave all of that alone for a moment and go to our other trades. Since we have the picture that we want. So the next picture, what I am looking for, I covered this with Joshua. I'm going to work off the 24. Okay, I know what worked great yesterday. I'm going to show you what worked great yesterday. You had to have patience and perseverance because it was only a few setups, right? That's still Asia. I can already tell you it's this right here. I am hunting this down with a vengeance. And specifically, arrow down, purple bar, diamond is just huge, right? Why? Because it gives big extensions. Really? I don't need this. Trying to find it for you. Arrow down, no supply, no demand. Diamond, the inverse works as well if you can find it. We didn't have a lot. And then B grade is no supply, no demand, or arrow down with no diamond. You'll see it just has tends to have a smaller extension. But there's another part that's important about this. Once you have this, if you can get okay, so this is complicating the trade, right? This is complicating the trade, but not really. What it's telling you is the second leg. Once I get this diamond, okay, usually after the next pullback, the next pink bar will release. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few examples of that. Okay, purple bar, diamond, pink bar. Okay, and then usually after the first pullback, the next pink bar up will release as well. So I'm going to show you a few examples. So purple bar, diamond, pink bar, right? It actually had to fully stop it, but then on the pullback, on the first pullback, it's a scalp, but the first pink bar will release again. See if I can find it. Diamond, pink bar only releases for 1 point, pullback, pink bar, and if this was going to run, it's 846, so it's choppy. So obviously you'd like that pink bar to come right after the turn, right? And the inverse is true for the purple bar. Pink bar, diamond, right, is good. It's not as good as arrow up, pink bar, diamond. Okay, and then everything else is just a normal trade. So I already know that I'm hunting down the no supply, no demand, arrow, yellow dot, stuffed, or yellow, pink dot, stuffed, right? So all this is doing, that diamond is just taking that same trade and just adding power to that trade, right? So that's what I'm looking for. And we didn't have a lot to work off of yesterday besides our normal, we had our normal setups. This was probably the best right here. And this was, I missed this somehow. Oh, it was over New York lunch is how I missed it. But see how you get this diamond? If the diamond stops out and traps with another diamond, or you get a head and shoulders trap with another diamond, that thing's going to face rip. Okay, just FYI, if you want to look at it, it was at 11:03. It's over New York lunch. I know I'm going to catch a lot of heat because of the New York lunch thing, but that setup is just fantastic. I don't have another thing to say about it. And the other nice thing about that diamond trade is you will notice, look at all the rip to the upside. Look how few diamonds you get to the downside, right? There's just not a lot. Now, I'll grant you, when we flip back over, there weren't a lot to the downside. Oh, and I need to add one more piece. Okay? I need to add one more piece. When you go, someone was asking me, Brian was asking me, what do the best shorts look like? I'll tell you right now, they look like this. Go inverted supernova, and then you get pink bar stuffed, or you get any combination of arrow up, but the point of control on the down bar will be hanging out after you get the pink bar up on the reversal. And those are where the larger extensions will come from. Obviously, you can look at it and go, well, that has a wick and it pushes down. But what you're trying to do is get a distinction between the ones that are better and the ones that are worse. And then the same holds true when it flips around to the long side. Here, I'll show you. So see how we go supernova, pull back, reversal. So it's not a diamond because it doesn't set up properly, but it's still good, right? So if you look at these, and then what would make it better? Purple bar, no supply, no demand. It can fail. This is Asia, so take it for what it's worth, right? But I'll show you during the U.S. session. Here, over here, we go supernova, and then I gave obviously did give a diamond to the upside for the launch to the upside. I'm not looking for, so some people ask, well, why not the POC over the POC? It has a higher failure rate. If you'll go count it, it just has a higher failure rate. And that's all there is to it. This is okay. It's a stop. You have to take the next diamond in the series over there. And then this head and shoulders trap was really good. Any questions? Because that's pretty much what I'm trading today. I'll skip the first half hour. I'll let them burn through whatever they're doing. We're obviously pure trend up right now. Like, man, what a hard market to get a rhythm in, right? Like, it's not consistent down. It's not consistent up. And there's no one theme that's holding if you look at it. There's just no one theme that's holding. So pretty amazing stuff. You know, 1 minute we're recession, market's tanking. Next minute, no, they're cutting interest rates. We're rallying. And to me, it is what it is. It just makes me be very, very specific as to what type of setups I'm taking. And that's the entirety of my process today. Any questions? I'm open to questions. I'll point out when we go inverse supernova, I'll start looking for the various setups as they come through, and I'll call them as I see them. But I will not be shorting. Out of the gate. That's for sure. Just too much. You know, too much risk, too much everything associated with that. And I'll be trading primarily off of 24, and I'll be looking for how long the bars take to form. When we grind like this, I tend to suck. Not often, but when we do this, I just want to shut my brain down because I'm just looking for too much edge, too hard, and there's no rotation. So that's what we have right now. So I'm just in a, hey, prove to me you can rotate, and then I'll prove to you I can take money out of the market. If that makes sense. So the first thing we're going to look for is inverse supernova and see if that'll work. And then we'll just kind of roll from there. If you'll stay chill and you'll stay on your process, and if you start to go on tilt, like here's the big deal. If you start to go on tilt, ask how what you're doing is logical, right? Is it an emotional response to a loss? Is it an emotional response to winning? How is the decision, the next trading decision you're making, logical? How would you explain it to the room? Like literally sit down and start going, let me explain why this trade is good, right? Because my guess is 70-80% of the time when you're taking those trades off process, that will force you to go, I cannot explain this. Right? That's all there is to it. You'll just go, I cannot explain this. So And off to the races we go. 1 minute till open. Just below 18,890 is where you drop off of that high volume node and start getting into those low volume nodes. Again, 18,880 and 18,862 are my preferred areas, and I'll be burning the first half hour. Open, drive, lower, potentially. And I can already tell you, Rhythmic seems way behind this morning. Like, way behind. My Rhythmic is massively behind. I don't know why, but it is. Like, delayed. The fills were good. I just tested it, but wow. Like, not even funny how bad it is. Anyone else? You bet. Good job. Good eyes, too. Good job, man. Freaking awesome. And you were in the single prints in that area we highlighted.